right, welcome to part four of the Road to the NDC Handicapping Show. I'm John Rallis alongside my co-host Dan Fisher, the managing director of Trot Magazine. Dan, so far overall throughout this competition and through the series, I think we've done a pretty good job from a handicapping standpoint.
Yeah, I think we haven't led people too far astray. I know in the Atlantic, the last one, I had the first four winners, but then I was nowhere close in legs 5 and 6, and then had a couple of singles, I think, to finish it off. And I look back, I think you had 4 singles that won on the day, and I had 3. We both had outrageous song. That horse we both loved, we said. It was funny, we were handicapping. We didn't know the horses that well. And 10 minutes in, you said, I love the 5 horse. And I said, I do too. All of a sudden, we love the horse.
Seemed to be a common occurrence race by race. So we didn't differ in too many in that region, but we did do pretty well. We unfortunately no win for his cash.
No, but we got our single from the 7 hole, One Rock, paid $630.
And incredible. We were adamant that the horse would race well.
Yeah, and then we got Moonrider across too. Now, Outrageous Song and Moonrider were both odds on. But hey, a winner's a winner. And then you had a horse named Tradition. So I think you had 4 singles that all won. There were a couple of bombs, a $42 winner that we didn't find, which bad on us. But
it's just got to be, again, those winners have to come at the right time, right?
Yeah,
it can be one, it comes at the wrong moment, and it can kind of derail it. But congratulations, obviously, to Redmond Doucette and David Dallin, who did advance. And you were really high on actually Redmond Doucette going to the competition.
Yeah, I had Red picked in a lot of my card, and of course they're going to join James McDonald and Tyler Borth that graduated from the Ontario Regional. And after that, from out west, Phil Giesbrecht was the winner, Mike Hennessy. And we've got Dougie McNair, the reigning national champion. So we've got 7 of the 9 spots filled. And on Sunday at 3R, they're looking to fill the last 2 pieces of the puzzle.
I know what I'll be doing Sunday, tuning into some Three Rivers action, see who kind of rounds out this NDC field. We're obviously going to get to some handicapping, but before we do that, we've got a trio of special guests joining us this afternoon. So we're excited to bring that for you guys as well and the viewers, and thank you to those 3 for joining us today. So we're going to get through going to fast forward to our guests first, and then we're going to do some handicapping after. All right, we're going to kick things off with our first guest on this afternoon's NDC Handicapping Show, and we've got Stephane Brosseau with us this afternoon. And Stephane, thanks for joining us this evening, and how are things?
All right, I just saw the post position and just got a little worse than what I thought. It could have been a lot better.
Yeah, that's the thing with the random draw, right? I mean, you guys are picking horses without kind of knowing where they're going to be really placed from a post position standpoint. But just talk about the thought process of the draft in general and your thoughts on it and the format of it.
Well, I think it's pretty good. I don't think there's a perfect way to do it, but I think it's a really good way. And, everybody's got to choose their horses. And after that, you get the post position. That's a little tricky, though. But the thing is, I was really happy with my draft. I was just looking forward for the post position, and I got it now and just try to find a way to get in the 2 first spot on Sunday.
So we do know that you did compete in an NDC in 2018 at Grand River. And I should know this, but I'm sorry I don't. Did they do the draft for that NDC, or is this the first time you've been involved in a draft of drafting horses?
No, we did it before.
You did.
I don't think we did it like in the elimination in Kawarta, but I think we did it. We did it in Grand River. That's 100% sure.
Sure. And I believe John and I were talking. You finished second to Doug McNair that year, I believe, in the NDC.
Yeah.
And
second,
so your draft must
was
have
not enough.
But your draft must have gone all right then.
Yeah, well, everything worked very good. The only thing is Doug was way too strong that night. He won like 5 races. So, but get beat by Doug McNair is not a bad thing.
No, not at all. Well, good news is that second place gets you on moving forward in this competition, though. And I kind of wanted to touch on more a little bit about the post positions in the draft. So, is there sometimes when you have a pick, whether it be second, third, or fourth, you don't know what post you're going to draw, though? But are you a little bit worried? Is it kind of a gamble knowing that I like this horse a lot, but if he does draw certain posts that I just basically have no shot to really get a good chunk of it?
Absolutely. There's some horses that just, are front runner, and you really have to get the nice post position, like 7 and 8 hole. All these drivers, they can, bring some speed to any horses. So I guess they're going to be like 4 or 5 wide in the first turn. So I guess, like a versatile horse could help a lot. Like, change your mind or just change the strategy. I think it's very important to have a horse that can do both.
For sure. And that brings me to my question about your first pick, Gladiator S. And I'm not trying to jinx you. I have done fairly well. This is our fourth RDC and I've picked a fair number of winners. I normally wouldn't single an 8 horse, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I am singling your first pick anyway. I'm sure being your first pick, you would have preferred a better post with them. But I think the horse is just the best regardless of post 8. And my main question to you is May 12th, his first start of the year, when he drew off a 1, I noticed you sat in the 2-hole to him that night. Part of the reason you made the pick, you remember that May 12th race where you sat in the 2-hole to him?
Well, I see him go that time, and I see him race the week after. And like a 3-year-old, like he's got a bit of talent, so he got better the week after. And the trainer is pretty good. Jacques Dupont got, very good hands with young horses. And I really think that he's going to be better again next Sunday. And he's going to have to be with the 8-hole. But
yeah,
the thing about it is he's a 3-year-old racing against old horses. I'm still going to try to be smart about it, not just thinking about me, Just sometimes,
sure.
It's a tournament. I understand that. But there's a lot of money involved and there's a lot of people working hard on their horses. And I think you got to take that, with it too.
And that is great to hear. And it shows you're a true horseman, the horseman in you, because sometimes I think people are a little leery to enter their horses in these kind of competitions, thinking, they're just going to send them and they're not going to really take care of the horse maybe so much. So I'm sure that is nice as a horse person. It's nice to hear you take that thought.
Well, when, you've been raised and I'm being in that game for a long, long time and just thinking about the people working hard after the horses, just being smart about it. I think it's one thing to show that, all these drivers they are there and there's a reason. It's because we do some nice things. And for me, that's an important thing to do.
Yeah, that's an incredible perspective, Stefan, because we hear everybody kind of saying that their goal is to win this competition, right? You are kind of knowing that, hey, there's a way to take care of a horse, but still getting to the winner's circle, and you're going to have a great chance to exemplify just that with Gladiator. And you know what? It's the 8-hole's not so bad though, Dan. I mean, he did draw the trailer a couple starts ago, so this is a horse who could come off the pace. I think he's going to be just fine.
He looks like he has the flexibility that you were talking about. He doesn't need to be on the front.
No, and between me and you guys, you know how it works. Like maybe there's some guys who's gonna need maybe a little hole or something in the day. So maybe I'm gonna have to grab one race or the other. So I hope I'll have 1 or 2 in the bag at that race.
Yeah.
I'm sure Pascal was hoping to pull off or at least get the number 1 overall pick in that race, or hoping that Gladiator would fall into his race, given that he's driven him the last couple of times. But I'm pretty sure he's in good hands with you, especially given what you said moments ago.
Yeah, well, I hope to. Winning up with a horse with taking maybe 80% instead of 110%, I like it a lot. Like, I think it's very good for the next weeks. I understand it's a tournament, but like I said, that horse is a 3-year-old. I think he worth a couple of dollars, so got to be smart about it.
Sure. So speaking of post positions, and you're a regular driver at 3R, maybe you can. It's a small sample size. I looked up the post position statistics on the Standard Canada website for 3R. Now this year it's only based on 46 races, but over 90% of the winners in those 46 races have been in the top 3 at the half. So does that surprise you, or is that something that you pretty much knew? Or
Not at all. Not at all. And
okay,
I got a really, really bad start this year. It's my worst start in 20 years, I think. And the thing is, sometimes you need the horses to go in front. Sometimes you don't need to be a good driver. You just need a good horse to put your spirit up. And doesn't look like it happens to me for right now. But I look at all the results the last 2 weeks, and I seen all the horses almost won from the front or first over with a real good horse, and
Mhm.
I think that's we know it's almost the best way on the half mile, but there's a lot of guys who thinks like that, so I don't know what's gonna happen.
Well,
There's
yeah,
very
that's the thing. If
there's a
five
lots
guys
of
are,
aggressive driver too, you know.
yeah, well, five guys are vying for the front. I mean, everybody's got the same idea, like you alluded to. So it can get a little bit challenging, and somebody's going to get left out there, hung out to dry.
Yeah, I don't know if 90% of the winners on Sunday will be in the top three at the half because they'll probably be a little more aggressive than normal.
Oh, for sure, and a couple of years ago they had the open stretch. Now they don't have it, so the guys don't want to get locked in. So
Oh,
that's gonna
Mm.
change.
oh,
There's gonna be a lot of battles, and I know like all these guys they're winners. So
so
Hmm.
there was a passing lane and now there's no passing lane
now
anymore.
for like the last 2 3 years, and
And which do you prefer, just out of the curiosity?
well, there's, and I'm not saying that for like there's some people they do that for fun. They're just not regular drivers. And I think
Mhm.
it just gives more space with the open stretch at the end there to everybody to get their space. So nobody, some people they pull out, don't get boxed in very early, not gaining
Mhm.
grounds, going four wides in the last turn. I think it would be easier for drivers that don't drive too often that they have a passing lane to give some
Yeah,
space. That's my
that's a
thought.
good perspective.
And before we let you go, Stefan, what is the most thing that you're excited for this weekend for this competition?
Well, to tell you the truth, lots of people know me. I think I'm a really good driver, but I'm really bad on myself. I'm bad attitude sometimes and just working on it this week. And the only one who can beat me, I think it's me. So got to do my homework, trying to get, the LTS and in the mind and in the, you know, inside out and just trying to, be relaxed and trying to do the best decision when the moment comes.
Well, as you well know, a horse that develops a bad attitude, sometimes just a change of scenery is the best thing. So you're going to be driving a bunch of horses you haven't sat behind before. Maybe your season turns around with a little change of scenery this weekend.
That would be very nice.
Thanks, Stefan, for joining us this afternoon, and best of luck for the tournament, and best of luck for the rest of the weekend this season.
All right, thank you to having me, and good luck to the other guys to finish second.
Bon chance, Stefan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
All right.
All right, for our next guest this afternoon, we've got Sophie Mongeon, Standard Canada Director and President of the Quebec Jockey Club. And Sophie, thanks for joining us today. Why don't you tell the people out there a little bit about you? Tell them a little bit about yourself and the association with racing in general.
Well, I'm the new president since December 2023. It was back to my love of horses, but I was out of the picture for about 20 years when I ended up doing my work because I'm a lawyer, first of all. So at one point now, I'm back in the horse business, but I was raised on a farm. My dad was a vet. And my mom is the youngest daughter of all the Filion family. So Hervé is my godfather. And so it was back to sources for me after a long time when I was out of the action. So I'm really, really happy to be back at the Hippodrome of Three Rivers to, to bring it back and try to bring that the glory days to Quebec racing.
So speaking of that, we are here today John and I are going to be handicapping the RDC this weekend. But when you talk about the glory days of racing and stuff, you must be very excited about to step a step ahead the National Driving Championship, which is you're going to host on July 5th. Tell us a little bit about maybe the plans or what excites you most about that event.
Well, obviously, it's the first year that we're host to all this, so it's very, very exciting. It's a great opportunity to show the oldest racetrack in North America. So that's also a great time to show what we have. It's a great place in the middle of Quebec, an hour from Montreal, now an hour from Quebec. So it's a hot spot right now, Three Rivers at this point. We're very excited because we have a bunch of activities on the July 5th, and our races are around from 4 to 6. So it gives plenty of time to have activities in the morning and also at night. So we're receiving kids from Make-A-Wish also in the paddock to meet the drivers and have this nice experience and just have an idea of what the racing really is. So we're going to have activities with a double cart. So that'll be a great day. And after the racing, since our races finish at 6, we have the opportunity to have a nice party to celebrate this great event. So looking forward to that also.
Excellent, excellent. And I do remember I wasn't there, but I remember when 3R hosted a leg of the World Championships, the year James McDonald won in 2017, I believe it was. And I remember on TV and everything, it looked fairly electric that night. So hopefully we'll have something like that on July 5th.
What's great with our racetrack is that people show up. So in the clubhouse, it's full. It's a full house. So it
Nice.
is always electrifying because it's always a lot of people that are there. So that's what differentiates us from other racetracks is that people come to see the races on in the track, not only on HPI bed or in different places. So they're really there. So that's fun. So it's going to be a really full house, especially that day when you consider that there's full of activities in Three Rivers at that time. There's the Expo, which is a big activity every year with park attractions and rodeos. So that'll be also around our track, which is the center of a place where there's baseball and other activities. So it's going to be a hot spot. You got to be there.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it. I did go to school in Ottawa. I went to University of Ottawa, and I had a buddy that had a car. I've been a horse person my whole life, so when I was away at school, I missed my horses and racing horses. But we would go over to Connaught Park once in a while in the winter, and that place was always packed. Now back then, that was in the '80s, so it was also full of cigarette smoke. But it was a it was a packed grandstand, and I remember it had a lot of atmosphere in those days. And I kind of picture 3R to be a little bit of the same, which is what we miss in a lot of tracks these days is the racetrack atmosphere. If you don't have the fans there, it's just not the same, right?
Our fans show up. That's really great. So we
Nice,
enjoy that very much.
nice.
Maybe going back to this weekend as a whole in the competition for the RDC this weekend. So did you get a chance to maybe look over briefly the card as in general, and maybe can you kind of tell us who you think might be Quebec's two representatives at the RDC?
Well, if you're asking me if I have a preference, I can't lie. Yes, I do. I are homeboys, so I like Pascal Bérubé and Stephane Brosseau. They're there all the time. Robert Shepard is a less there recently. I think he's a little bit more at Rito. So, but I also have a small affection for Samuel Filion because he has the same name as my family, so
Two
I'm
L's,
a Filion.
two L's.
Two L's, yeah, two L's, but still close enough. And he's young, and I like it when we see that the young people are stepping up to the plate also. But my two guys, Pascal and Stefan, I hope they can rally it up for the Three Rivers team.
Sounds good. So before we let you go, I did just want to touch on the Jockey Club a little bit because when I started here at Trot, it was 18 years ago, and that was right around the time when everything in Quebec had fallen apart with the attraction hit peak, and it was the Jockey Club and just the people at 3R that basically saved racing in Quebec, and it's they've done such a fabulous job. Back then, it was just the one track. I don't think they were on HPI. I don't think they had teletheaters. Everything really started. So now, as the president of the Quebec Jockey Club, what just give us a little bit of a reflection on what you remember and the excitement about how great things are there now with the Sire Stake program and all the other stuff that you guys have.
Well, this year we brought back the Prix d'été,
Mm-hmm.
which is for the Amble 4 years old. So we're
Yep.
kind of hoping to bring attraction to that, bring that event to back to the plate. But obviously, my biggest mandate is to get help from government financing. We're the only province in all Canada that receives $0 from our government.
Wow.
So it makes us. You were saying it's great. I think it makes it even greater what we can accomplish without any money from
Hmm.
any other sources. So my mandate in 2024 and 2025 is to just rebring the horse racing industry back on the top of the government importance, so we could get a little bit of help to bring the purses up a little bit, because that's really our issue right now. Our
Sure.
purses are not high enough, so we lose a lot of our drivers and horses to Ontario, and I
Hmm.
want to bring them back home,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's the objective in 2024, 2025. But
Good
it's,
for
got a lot of meat on my plate.
yeah, dealing with the government for sure. But there's so much history, as you know. In the a number of years ago, we did a trot feature on drivers, and I think when I look back at it, I think it was about all the drivers that have come out of Quebec, and it was like Michel Lachance and Luc Ouellette and Daniel Dubé and Yannick Gingras and Rick Ziron and Louis Waugh, and it was just like it's incredible the history in Quebec of it. So hopefully the government cares a little bit about the history in that
That
way.
that's why we tried to explain to them that we're like the best place where the drivers come, and unfortunately they have to go somewhere else to live their lives, and we want to just bring that back here. So my objective is, now we have 2 race programs per week
Hmm.
that are starting Friday and Sunday, and I would really really like to bring it up to 4 to 5 programs per week, so people could really live off this sport and stop needing to do normal work, and this as a passion, so the passion can also bring meat on the table. So
For sure.
let's just hope that with the fact that we have this big attraction, and back to the PDT, and we're having our new TV show that's going to be starting on RDS, which is
Okay.
Le Réseau des Sports.
Hmm.
So it's going to be called Trifecta. So I
Okay.
hope that we'll be able to also, that people will see that we're the new hot sport
Sure.
in Quebec this year.
Sure. And I think RDS is basically the French speaking TSN, correct?
That's right.
Along. Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Well, that's
Yeah.
exciting.
So at least the sorry.
No, no, go ahead.
So at least we're bringing back the races to TV. So
Hmm.
that's a very good start.
For sure.
Absolutely. Well, it really sounds like the state of Quebec horse racing is in very, very good hands. And we look forward to this weekend, Sophie. We look forward to Quebec and Three Rivers being right on the national stage on July 5th. So we thank you again for joining us. We look forward to what the future Quebec horse racing holds. And yeah, just best of luck this weekend and everything going forward.
It's my pleasure, and do not hesitate. I would love to make you to receive you at our racetrack at any time.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Sophie.
Thanks to you.
Have a good day.
You too.
All right, and for our final guest this afternoon, we've got another driver competing in this competition. We've got none other than Nick Boyd, aka Ralphie. And Ralphie, thanks for joining us on time today, because we know that you like to do things a little bit on the late side.
I know. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on.
As far as the Ralphie, now I've had the pleasure of knowing you for I don't want to date us, but probably 25 years. So I know the Ralphie story, but just for the others that hear, oh, Nick Boyd, oh, Ralphie, oh, tell us just the brief background behind how you got that nickname.
My mom hated the name Nick. She said she named me Nicholas, not Nick. Anyone would phone and she'd give them, they'd ask for Nick and she'd say, Nicholas. And anyways, as it translated, I was playing hockey, big hockey guy, and skating around like any little kid, bumblebee following the puck, not listening to the coaches. My dad happened to be the coach. And one day out of left field, he just yelled, Ralphie, and kind of bewildered. I turned looking at him like, who the is Ralphie? And skated off the ice. And from that day forward, it stuck. And I think everyone except for my mother's called me Ralphie ever since.
Ralphie and I coached hockey together. We won't get off topic, but for a number of years, we actually coached hockey together. And we had kids that we coached for 2 years, and someone would say Nick Boyd, and the kids would say, who's that? Who's Nick? They had no idea what his name was.
I played hockey with guys in junior, and years later, we went to the Canadian Ball Hockey Championships down in New Brunswick, and they're doing this big audio video presentation, and they calling us out by name, and they called my name, and about half the team turned and looked and was like, who is this guy?
Fast forwarding now to the competition, Ralphie, and it's obviously a draft setup, right? Everybody's got their own post once, but How did you kind of go about, reviewing all these horses and whatnot? Did you call Beachy for some handicapping advice to give you the rundown, race by race, or what?
No, my key handicapper's out of town on a cruise there, and poor Beachy, he was stuck at work, so I kind of had to go off my own intuition. The guys I would have phoned are all in the competition, so it's kind of hard to phone them and ask them the lowdown on some of these horses. But went over the program last night, wrote some numbers down, looked at things. I'm not a great handicapper. If I had to make a living handicapping, I'd be poor. But anyways, looked through the program, made some notes, watched a few videos, and just kind of prep myself that way for today's draft.
So speaking of that, this is our fourth RDC handicapping video, and it seems to be two different thoughts of opinion. I noticed that your 8th pick got the rail. So is that a good thing for you? When you pick a horse 8th, you're probably thinking you're not getting much. Would you rather have your 8th pick get the rail where you might get away good and maybe scab a 3rd or a 4th that you didn't anticipate getting? Or would you rather have your top couple picks draw well?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting one, Fish. And I looked at it, and Shep, Sam, and Stephane Brosseau, their number 1 picks all drew the 8 hole.
We saw that.
Jimmy Gagnon's got the 7. Guy's got the 6. Pascal and I both got the 5. And then Stefan Pouliot's the only one. He drew the rail with his number 1 pick. And obviously, with the format, it's not set up to necessarily, pick one from each post position. It's just assigned after. So I'm not really sure how I would rather have it. I mean, I guess if you're looking for, your number 8 pick isn't necessarily the last horse you're picking, right? It's just, that's the way it came up in that race, that particular race. But I don't know. I think looking back at the competition last time in 3R, Pascal Berube had, he went on with Sam Filion. He had 3 wins, and everything else you needed a GPS to find him somewhere in downtown Quebec City. So I think sometimes maybe you would have your better horses draw the rail and just try to, or what you think are your better horses draw the rail and win with the ones you can win with.
So I think you were talking about your drawn one. I think I think Fisher and I gave you a passing grade. I think one of them. Let's talk about a couple of your selections here, though, Nick. I mean, Ice Needs Whiskey in race number 4. I don't know if you saw the replay on that one, but Rivals stopping in front of him after he sat the 2-0 last time out. But you picked up a pretty good post. I think. What's Ralphie going to do? Is this one down the road?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because every time I go to these competitions, the first one in Kawartha, my first drive, I really liked the horse. I had a little bit of an idea about the horse, and I rolled him down the road. But a lot of these other ones last year or the last time in 3R, I thought, oh, this one will roll out of there. And the gate would leave and I'd find myself 6th or 7th sitting back on the outside. Different things come up. Obviously, that's what the horse shows. And I was happy to see that horse draw a nice post. Sometimes when you're picking horses with speed, you obviously hope those ones draw well. But, I think if I'm not mistaken in that, I got it here somewhere, but in that race, when I was looking at different horses that I, could have had or that I could be up against, they kind of all drew well in that race. The ones that I thought will factor in the most. So, pardon me. I guess we'll see what presents itself. You kind of have to be able to adjust on the fly. I'm sure any driver will tell you that. But going forward seems to be a pretty good strategy usually for many of the horses this day and age, especially.
Oh, yeah, and I wanted to follow that up with your top pick. It was a big Zed, right? I mean, in race number 6, isn't that? I mean, it was a pretty, to be honest, even handicapping, it was a pretty tough group of horses, Ralphie. I mean, how did you?
Bit of a formless field,
yeah,
really.
I mean, a lot of horses kind of just looking to get on track. I mean, talk about your decision-making. Horses winless in the last 2 years. Maybe he just needs the hands of Ralphie to get the job done.
Well, listen, I hope he does. I hope he does. But yeah, interesting field. I mean, it was my number 1 pick. I had him listed as number 1 on my sheet. That was the horse I kind of had listed. The horse I had listed as number 2 draws the rail. So. And then Sam picked the horse I had listed 3rd, which is going to go off as your post time favorite, and it's got post 7. So, certainly got to say that would appear Stephane Brosseau had the easiest number one pick with the Gladiator
Yeah.
BG horse, but no, I like that
Because
horse.
the
It's
Yeah, but actually, if you go back and actually, Dan, we even speaking to him about he was talking about how he wants to take care of the horse because he's a 3-year-old and he's going up against older. So I really do think that's an interesting. You normally hear guys saying they're gonna try go all out for this competition, but he's putting the horse first in that sense too, which is very interesting.
yeah, I know it's, and I'm sure he's still. I mean, he looks like he's a hand enough horse in that race that he could get the job done. I guess if he's taking care of him, I think you can still take care of him, and
Mm-hmm.
it will turn out well for him. But
sure.
no, Big Zed, my number one pick. I like that horse. You know, it's the luck of the draw on what race you get to pick number one. It was certainly one that I had tab number one in that race to begin with, so
Well,
I'm happy with it.
we've been fairly accurate with our first three RDCs, and in that race, I'm just using 1 and 5. I'm not using the 7 there at all. I'm using yourself and the rail horse, who was your second pick, and I think I've got it covered. So I don't want to jinx you,
Yeah.
kid, but
No, that's all right. It would be not last time I was in this competition. I had three. I didn't get a win, but I had 3/4 or 4 seconds. So hopefully I can get the job done, and hopefully Big Zed's one of them.
I thought though that I thought Friday told you to make that pick since he was a big Jim though. That's why.
Yeah, no. Big Jim Friday's done better with the Philly Big Jims. He's more of a Philly guy, if you know what I mean.
So speaking about the former RDCs, though, this is your third one. You had one at 3R, you had one at KD. I believe you're very close to qualifying both times. Just give us the being a big sports guy. I know you're a big fan of the Olympics and the thought of wearing red and white. And I know you, like most guys, you'd love to qualify for the national. But just give us the quick recap of your first two experiences, how close you came, and if that makes you hungrier to get there this time.
You know, the first one was all new. I was driving against some guys I'd never driven against, which most of them are here now, you know, at my home track where I grew up. The first race, I drew a horse. We didn't get to pick. We were just kind of assigned. I drew a horse I really, really liked. I knew the horse quite well, rolled him down the highway. I think I went in 53 or 54 by 5. It felt good to get that monkey off your back. Everything was gravy from then. Unfortunately, it came down to me and one other guy towards the end, and for the second place. And I had my absolute worst horse from the 8 hole in the last race, and I'd driven that horse. I qualified him as a 3-year-old, and I think I drove him his last start as a 14-year-old, and he was not much stock when we qualified him early, and he was equally as bad at 14. But it wasn't looking well. You know, we gave it our go, but you know, I fell short by 2 points. I think I finished 7th or 8th, and the guy that needed to squeak ahead of me, he finished 5th, I believe. And then last time at 3R, probably my best horse on paper on the card going into the competition was a filly for Yves Tessier that was in the preferred, which was the final race. And just kind of the way everything was setting up and looking, I thought Sam Filion had a really nice horse in there. I think he even came close to, you know, a season's record last year or that year. Anyways, really looking forward to driving her because I thought it's a really outside shot at the competition, but I kept myself in it. I ended up getting the 5 points for the scratch, but if I would have finished second or third, which I think she was very capable of, especially the way the race, she was picked for second, and the way the race set up, I think she's second or third. That would have been the difference in qualifying. But
And
anyways,
so she was scratched, and you end up missing by 2 points.
Unfortunately, she was scratched, and she was coming off a big effort the week before where she had, she hadn't missed the top 3 in her last 6 starts. And obviously Yves Tessier is a high average trainer. So it would have been a nice, that was the one I was really looking forward to, but that's the way it goes. That's the luck. And hopefully one of these times when it comes down to it, we're getting the job done. And I think maybe we just got to put ourselves in a position where it's not coming down to the last race.
I don't know what's worse, a situation even like that, or having a horse that you need in the last race put up a poor performance, or even having a situation in the Atlantic like Mark Campbell going into it not being able to control his own destiny, having to sit out in the last leg of that
Yeah.
competition. So it's pretty. It can be challenging.
Yeah, it is, and I'm thankful this time. Last time, just it's a horse thing, but last time we only had I think we were in 6 races, and then you get scratched down. But this time, nice having 8 races, all the post positions. It's a nice.
Last question for me is your biggest fan Piper. Is she making the trek to
She,
Quebec?
she's not. She's
Oh,
not.
okay.
She's at my mom's grand opening of her bakery. So
Okay. Piper's
I,
Ralphie's little girl. Piper's 2?
there's 3.
3? Geez, time
Time
flies.
time flies, Uncle Fish.
Well, if you make it to the NDC, you'll have to bring her.
If I make it to the NDC, I think there's a chance she could be at my sister's for some babysitting, because I'm sure my mom and dad will want to come. Nobody wants to have a little one running around.
One last thing for me though, do the boys over there know how poor of a gin player you are, or what?
No, I'm going to head down Saturday and get a nice night in, and hopefully donate some money if they want to play gin. We'll get them out, and I think you have five cards in that one, John, or 6. I don't know. If you
Yeah.
could remind me before we go, I'd love some refreshers.
Yeah, he's a great guy to take some. Yeah, he's really bad at that game. You should play with him, Fish. He's really poor.
I'll stick to playing golf with him.
Ralphie, thanks a lot. Best of luck. Best of luck in the competition this weekend. Thanks for joining us, and just best luck the rest of the summer.
John, Fish, appreciate you guys having me on, and hopefully we can be doing this again before the Canadians.
Sounds good. Go get him, Ralphie.
All right, and welcome to the handicapping portion of the show. We've got 8 RDC races on tap that go straight through from races 2 through race number 9. We're going to start off on the trot here for a purse of $3,700, field of 8, and I thought this race was pretty easy from the standpoint of I'm going to go with the driver's top pick in this race, and I think that this quote really stands out to me, and that's Paradise Money. I'm interested to see what direction you landed in, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, Paradise Money, he's won 2 in a row, 2 for 2 this year. He's a 3-year-old international money colt, and has looked flawless this year. He will be a single on a lot of tickets, but I'm going to throw the 3 in there. There's a couple things I always look for especially on the smaller tracks. One that raced well from the 7 hole, and one that was first over a long way. And this horse checks both those boxes. They liked him enough, maybe a class a little bit lower than this. He's up a little bit, but they liked him enough to bet him down to 4-5 last week out of the 7 hole. He left, got away third, removed, was first over a long way, and hung around for a pretty decent third. So I'm just thinking, you know what, the 3-year-old against the older horse, he had a couple wins and an 8 on the board finishes last year. So I'm going to throw the 3 in there just to maybe have a little bit more of a price in that first leg, but I'm definitely going with your 5.
Yeah, and interesting that Pascal did drive Miles of Muscle last time out and opted for the Paradise Money with his first pick, but much better post relief to work with tonight, Dan. I think you could probably round out the exact, albeit although it'll be pretty short, I would say.
It will.
Going to move forward to race number 3, and we're on the pace this time, purse of $3,500. I found this to be a pretty interesting field. I know that the 2-horse Latte Silsa is going to take some action, but I want to see where you went first, Dan.
I went a little more outside here, and I don't like going outside on the half-mile track so much, but I'm looking at Robert Shepard's horse from the 5-hole, Pretty Diva. He did have third choice. What I noticed here is that Pretty Diva has been driven by a couple of drivers recently that just don't have as much experience as Rob. The last 2 drivers of this horse have had 112 career drives and 49 career drives. Robert Shepard's had 30,564 career drives. This horse went a real long trip in its last, parked the entire mile out of the 5-hole, was first up for a long way, and was only third beat 2 at the wire. And the other horse I like, but I can't believe it's kind of funny. It's got the 7-hole, is 0 for 36 in his last 2 years, but was Jimmy Gagnon's first pick. And I got to throw the horse in there because it does show they can park a long way. It's been second and third in his last 2, parked a long way. Had the 7-hole 2 weeks ago and parked the whole mile. So why not? So I am using 5 and 7. What about yourself?
You know what? We closed out the Atlantic Regional Driving Championship, kind of went with the same picks. And first 2 races, we land on the same horses for exactly the same reason that you just said. I think Pretty Diva, I think that was a tough trip for her last time out. You get like you said, a regular set of hands who's been sitting sitting in a bike regularly,
Sure,
right? Then
sure. Can make a difference.
Pretty good draw to work with here, and I think Rob can elect to do what he wants to do. Maybe leave out a little bit, float out, but Pretty Diva is the direction that I'm going to go here.
Sounds good.
All right. Last word to race number 4. Hopefully our opinions can differ a little bit here. We're on the pace though. First at 3,700. I went to the 2-horse Ice Needs Whiskey. We heard from Ralphie talk about that charge. Hopefully I got him motivated a little bit to send this guy forward. But that was a rough journey last time out. Left aggressively from Post State, had a rival that he was following start fading down the stretch. And I believe he was the race favorite that he was following. So it was a good place to be. Unfortunately, the favorite just didn't have much to offer that time out. And I think Ice Needs Whiskey from post number 2. I think Ralph can consider a pretty good trip.
Yeah, and like you said, hopefully we do have some different picks. And the 2 is my top pick here as well. Mm-hmm. But I don't have a ton of faith. 0 for 14 this year. And the 1 was a first round pick. And I'm kind of letting the drivers lead me in the right direction here. And I'm looking at the 4-horse as well. I'm going to use, on a multi-leg wager, I'm using 1, 2, and 4 here. Super FM for Guy Gagnon has had some bad posts, 5, 7, 7, has not got away well, and was still second beat a nose in its last effort. So, yeah, I'm going to look for maybe a bit of a price here. Sometimes those horses that are boxed and looking for room, some of them, I don't know the horse well enough to say, but people get on them the next week, and sometimes then they get some air and they hang. So sometimes they pace off the screen. Other times they end up as underlays because everybody saw them get boxed in. So yeah, I'm using 1, 2, and 4 in that race.
All right, we're gonna move on to race number 5. Again, sticking to the pace here and hoping. Okay, I think we might differ here. I would assume. Let's hope so. Dan, which direction are you going?
Well, again, I have 2 horses. I don't have a lot of singles today. It's very competitive field. Congratulations to the race secretary, the race office for putting this together. But I think the lineup's going to be 6-1. I think the six has a ton of gate speed. Was 3 for 13 last year. Has a win under his belt this year already. But I see the 1 getting out of there, and the 1 is one of these situations again. Nothing against the previous driver, but it's a driver who doesn't drive a lot. And Stephane Brosseau, who we had on earlier, has the rail with this horse. I think he'll be aggressive. This horse show's coming first over a long way last start, and still coming home in 28-2, mile in 57-1. I think it's going to line up 6-1, and I'm actually going to make the 1 my top pick. I remember this horse from its days in Ontario, and I looked up on track, and this horse does show a winning 56 mile around 3R. So I'm going 1-6.
The 1's a standout for me in this race. So clearly nothing's changed so far the last first 4 races. Listen, Shanghai Blue Beach, she's got the gate speed. We saw her get the job done 2 starts back. Maybe you can throw that effort last time out the window but she had nothing to offer, right? I mean, just a pretty good trip. Better kiss the man. I mean, she had every reason to tie her, and she still finished ahead of her. So
sure,
maybe with the rail draw, it's interesting. She had an inside draw last time out, but like you said, now you have a more experienced driver sitting behind her. So I'm hoping Stefan takes advantage of the rail position.
And I think the one thing that made me want to throw the 6 in, I don't like how she stopped more last time, but for some reason she's down in class, and I don't understand exactly how the classes work, but she shows a win by 4 lengths, a class higher, and then was 4th last time, and now gets to drop down a hair anyway. So that's why I got a little bit nervous, and I'm throwing the 6 in as well. But I do like the 1 along with you.
All right, that's our thoughts through the first 4 legs of this competition here, and we're going to move on to race number 6. On the pace for a purse of $3,200. I found this to be a pretty tough race, and we did speak to Ralphie, and he went Big Zed as his top selection. But I mean that gelding, that 7-year-old gelding is winless in his last 22 tries. Dan, did you follow Ralphie's lead here?
I like the 5 and the 1. I'm just the 1 gives me a little, like you say, it's hard to back a horse that's over 22 in the last 2 years, and like Ralphie said, he did make it his first pick. The 1, I don't go by times. I don't like just going by times. To me, it's who you can beat. It's not, I mean, a horse can win in 55 one week and then get looked in the eye the next week and get beaten 57. But the 1 horse has paced consistent times, won its qualifier in 2 minutes, and then just his first 2 starts had the trailing spot, and then the 7 hole got away poorly both times, was out the mile both times. I think if there's a horse on the board that I think can beat our buddy Ralphie there that it might be the one. So I'm and the one is a great post on a half mile track. So I'm using the 1 and the 5.
I think Ralphie alluded that he's not the best handicapper, and I think I know he did have the first pick, but not ashamed to say I don't wouldn't have been my first pick if I was picking. I'm with I like Moktai son a lot there. I think that you touched on it, 2 bad posts to work with, and I mean, half or not, I'm not a fan of the trailing position at all. Post 7 last time for this 7-year-old, and I think with Pascal Berube aboard, a rail drop, Pascal's going to get aggressive with this guy. So he's going to be in the thick of things early.
When you think back to the Ontario Regional, I think it was the first race of the entire thing, this whole thing, James had a horse in the first leg that we both loved, and he got a 5th pick. Mm-hmm. And this one, it reminds me of the same thing. And James did get in as a second-place finisher. That win probably made the difference. Pascal Berube here got this horse. This horse fell into his lap 5th overall in this race, in the draft. And if Pascal does qualify as one of the top 2, you might look back to this race as maybe the race that made the difference when your 5th choice can be that kind of power.
Yeah, it was like you said. I mean, this is a horse that has shown that he can be activated off the wings fairly early. We saw that in the qualifier on May 11th. Just 2 bad draws to work with. I think you can scratch those lines out, and there's not really much else to like with some of these horses. I think they're just trying to find their footing and get back on track.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of wins on the card.
All right, that's how we see things in race number 6. We're going to move on to race number 7 here, and I actually like one in here quite a bit. Actually, I know there's going to be a horse that everybody's going to be keen on, and we did speak to Stephane Brosseau, but there's one here that I like a little bit, but I'm interested to hear where you went.
Well, I do like the Gladiator Rest from the 8 hole, and again, in the Eastern, we did single a 7 horse, and we weren't hoping to, but it worked out all right. And I think that day I just said, sometimes the horse is just the best. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the post really, now Stefan did tell us as a 3-year-old race against older horses, this horse might have plans for Ontario Sire Stakes this year. He is Ontario sired. He's not going to beat this horse up, but like Ralphie said, you don't necessarily have to overdrive a horse. If you're the best, you can still easily win. I had a little bit long shot marked on the 4. I guess it's Mad Paca. And I really, other than he won his qualifier in 2 minutes by 14 lengths, there's not a whole lot to like. It was 8th overall. Pascal again got this horse 8th. So the last quarter in 31 seconds in the qualifier doesn't thrill me. I think I'll single the 8 here, but you said you liked something else. Who was it?
You know what? Even as we're looking through the program, I thought Gladiator was going to be obviously worthy of being likely the race favorite here. Was dominant over the last 2 tries. But after speaking with Stephane Brosseau, and he was talking about that he wants to take care of a horse.
Yeah.
Coupled with the fact that he's drawn the 8 hole, a lot can happen here, and it's a half-mile track, and he might be out positioned turning for home, and things he might just run out of racetrack, right? I think that he could get away towards the back of the pack, especially with an outside draw. And I kind of like Indigo Sealster here with the rail draw. I thought those are 2 sneaky good efforts, and now you get a new set of hands today, and Jimmy Gagnon. I thought those were some really, really good efforts. A rival stopped in his phase 2 starts back. I thought that line was much better than the line indicates the race rather, and thought last time out had a little bit of pace in between some rivals. So I think Jimmy's going to send this guy from the rail, get him in a good spot, and hopefully maybe if things don't work out for Gladiator, I think Indigo Sealster could be in the winner's.
Well, you're going to get a price, and anytime you can get a price from the rail on a half-mile track, there's got to be a little bit of value there. So go get him. I hope you finish second.
Hopefully maybe a little 8-1 box. All right, moving on to race number 8 here, and there's a horse I really love in here, so I'll let you maybe go first, though. But I want to hear what you have to say. We're on the pace, purse of $4,000. Where did you go down?
Yeah, this is the inside horses for sure. They were picked 4th pick, 2nd pick, 3rd pick from the rail 2-hole, 3-hole, and I did throw out the 3 because Pascal Berube chose the 2. He had a chance. He has been driving the 3, and he decided to stay off the 3 in favor of the 2. Brody's Scrapper, he's a horse that raced around Ontario for some time, shows 17 wins in the last 2 years, most of them on a half-mile track at Flamborough, mark of 54. I did go 2-1. Brody Scrapper, my top pick, GA Speed Joey, my 2nd pick. I just gave Pascal the edge. I figured if he picked off the 3 that has been racing good and he's regular driving, he's pretty high on the 2 horse. So I'm 2-1. What about yourself?
I love the rail horse GA Speed Joey here. I absolutely love him in this spot. I know Brody Scrapper's taken a little bit of a drop down in class, like you alluded to, Pascal Berube's first pick. But Jay Speed Joy, I mean, now he gets paired up with Robert Shepard, and last year these two hooked up for 3 wins at Three Rivers and in convincing fashion. So this is a horse that Robert Shepard's very very familiar with, and I don't know for certain, but you might know. I think that it was his fourth selection in this race. Not
Yes,
100%
it was his fourth choice. Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think that I mean, I'm honestly shocked that he was able to get him as his fourth pick. But we know
Yeah.
that sometimes there are things in the competition that, from a draft
for
standpoint,
sure. So tell people, how do you know Robert Shepard won this 3 times with this horse last year?
obviously the track is just such a great
I
handy tool,
I
right?
honestly could not bet
Yeah.
the horse races if I didn't
Yeah.
have track, and that's not a shameless plug for
No.
for Stanbridge Canada. It's just the truth. I use it. You need it. You need it.
Well, sometimes you know, I remember watching broadcasts and horse racing, and you hear the drivers talk after the race, and it's like, yeah, you know, I've driven this horse 6 times in my career. I've gotten along with him pretty well, and it's like, well, how can you figure that stuff out?
Yeah.
Right. So you see horses we're not familiar with. I mean, there's drivers who are doing in a draft order, and you kind of want a better understanding as to why they're choosing a horse. And
For sure.
obviously, Robert Shepard getting this horse to fall into the lap at 4, coupled with the rail draw, coupled with in addition to the success that he's had with this guy, I think that Jay Speedjoy, I think I really love this horse. We're going to give out pick 4s. I'm going to be singling him and playing around him.
Go get him.
Race number 9 that closes out the competition, and this is a preferred. It is not a handicap though, since it was a draft order. I just want to touch on that. We've got a horse power dropping in this race though, coming stateside, back in familiar territory. YS Sensational City, I should say.
Yes.
YS Sensational City. Is that the direction you went from the 8-hole?
No. I'm going to play the 2. I probably would use the 8 depending on how many I can use on my ticket. But I just thought, you know, with the post difference, the 8 has raced against better recently at Yonkers, but I don't think the gate speed is there, but she's been leaving from the rail 2-hole and 3-hole. Doesn't show absolute brilliant gate speed. So she might be out of ways, and I think it might make the difference. It's also a mare racing against the boys, which I don't normally mind with the trotters, but with the pacers, I find it a little bit more difficult. If she's better, and it won't matter. I just look at the 2 uncontrollable. Mark at 53 on the half at Grand River last year. Qualifies in 2-3. Qualifies in 2 minutes. 2-3 on the slop. Goes out and wins in 57. Goes out and wins in 55. Getting a few starts under his belt. Getting a little faster every week. Has the inside edge. Has a ton of gate speed. So I think the 2 is going to control the race, and I'm going to go with the 2. You're on the 8, kid?
You know, I don't want to be a cop out and give a race, but I mean, by default, this is a mare dropping way down, but the 8-hole kind of scares me the more I look at it. I'm not really sure. I know we have to get a pick. I'm not really sure what to do in this race.
Yeah.
I guess when we do construct our pick 4s, I think the more I looked at it and hearing you speak about uncontrollable, I mean, it's hard not to really like him, especially with an inside draw.
He does listen to me
Once in a while. Yeah, I mean, I'm not that stubborn. I like to.
This thing better win, though, or you'll never listen to me again.
But, you know, there's a lot. Actually, it becomes a pretty tough race. It's just ironic that YS Sensational City does draw the 8-hole in this spot. So I do think it complicates things quite a bit.
And, you know, that was Robert Shepard. Patrick's his brother, of course. That was Robert Shepard's first pick. Drew the 8-hole. Go back a race earlier. Samuel Fillion's first pick. Drew the 8-hole. Go back race earlier. Stephane Brosseau. Drew the 8-hole. It really is it levels the playing field when all these first picks draw the 8-hole.
100%. I mean, this horse is coming back to familiar territory, dropping, but then you get post number 8. So a lot of people, like you said, not the post position gods weren't in their favors, but it does kind of help strengthen the competition from a parity standpoint. So I'm really looking forward. Actually, I'm really looking forward to this event, though, Dan, on Sunday. Very looking forward to tuning in, and obviously they're going to be the host for the finals for the first time as well for the NDC. But I think that this we're going to get a nice taste of the racing there from a bunch of the guys, a bunch of them being local connections as well, and I'm really looking forward to it.
For sure. So as before we sign off, we do want to wish everyone the best of luck on Sunday at 3R. All the drivers, Pascal Berube, Nick Ralphie Boyd, Stephane Brosseau, Samuel Filion, Guy Gagnon and Jimmy Gagnon, Stefan Pelo, and Robert Shepard. Wish everyone the best of luck. Be safe out there and have a great competition.
Once again, we just love to thank our guests for joining us this afternoon, as well as for all the other regions. We're getting very close to see who's going to represent Canada in the World Driving Championship next summer. So a couple steps away, but let's enjoy the racing this weekend first, and hopefully we can give you some winners.
Thank you.